Stop talking, be naked. It is time for the Killjoys after show here on AFTERBUZZ. We are talking season 2, episode 6. I Love Lucy. Stick around.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello and welcome to the Killjoys after show here on AFTERBUZZ TV. If you have not already, go to youtube.com/AFTERBUZZ-TV. Hit subscribe. We're also on iTunes and SoundCloud. Let me introduce my hosts because they're already eating. Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Hey guys, just eating some outer space peaches.
He's just going to the country. Gonna get a lot of peaches.
Yeah.
I'm sure the audio listeners are really appreciating the sounds.
They love the sounds.
All right, and Stephen Lemieux is here.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at I was totally right 2 episodes ago.
And I'm Yael Tygiel at Yael Tygiel. We will have a special guest joining us later. I can't believe you're actually eating this.
Otherwise, it's gonna sit on the table.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't want that to happen.
That's ridiculous. Let's get to the peaches part. Let's talk about Davin and Sabine because this was the craziest ending, and I was laughing hysterically. Which
Of course you were. Of course you were, Yael.
I don't think that's what I was supposed to be doing, but I was laughing so hard.
I was cheering because I thought it was a great. I think I was even like saying like, she's definitely a bad guy, definitely a bad guy,
Right.
I was
definitely a
kinda
bad
thinking that
guy,
too.
and then I was like, boom, and I just yes, correct.
Wait,
Not correct.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
She wasn't a bad
no
guy at all.
confirmation that she's a bad guy.
What are you? Are you on something, Zach?
So he
Yes, many things, but-
apparently-
Have you eaten a peach recently?
Yeah.
I tried some Hawk. Before,
So-
Hawk 9.
A lot of people were tweeting that there might be, so we're not sure if her death was caused by Davin's penis or if it was caused by the peach. Which is something that never occurred to me that the peach was killing her because I was too distracted.
Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, you made decisions there.
I
Assumption. Or,
Yeah, all right. Let me explain my assumption
Explain
then.
it.
I assume that she is at level 6. Her appearance, like at Pre's bar, seemed very convenient, and then she was right. She went right into Davin. I'm sorry, to Avin. And the fact that like she was willing to go back with him, this whole thing. I think that when he lost control of himself, shall we say?
Okay.
He activated the powers that we saw him using a lot in this episode, pushing or pulling.
And so he pushed it out of her.
He effectively pushed all the green goo that is her blood, since in my mind she's a level 6, out of all of her orifices, killing her because even though he might have just pushed like someone like Fancy Lee across the room,
Right.
he was all up inside her.
I see what you're saying. That's an interesting theory. Stephen, do you agree, disagree?
After you put it that way, I like it. The reason, no, because the reason
It's just the liking it.
I like it. She was never mind. What I mean, because like what I was thinking was she wasn't a bad guy because I had that thought, but then the fact that she died, I was like, oh, maybe this is just another Jacoby brother endless romance of death, or the fact that maybe because my whole theory up until this point was that the reason behind Dutch's things was that maybe it's sexually transmitted, and now seeing that he did that and it did that, but we know that he can bleed.
Right.
So unless there's some kind of cataclysmic thing that happens when his blood touches other blood and turns it into the green stuff, because I was just thinking, oh, them having sex and the sexual content turned all her blood into the green stuff, and since she's human, she wasn't in a lab or anything, it just uncontrollably
Okay.
changed. But it makes a lot more sense that her blood was all green, and then his immunity was being transferred to her and just destabilized everything that was in her.
That's possible. Oh, sexually transmitted immunity. I mean, that's an interesting. It could have been what it is. I just think it makes sense that because Klein has said he's trying to actively figure out what's going on with Davin.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense for him to have planted a mole really close, a place that he knows that the team is going to go regularly.
Yeah.
And so let's find a blonde to fall in love with
Hey,
Davin.
only a level 6 could be that sexy.
Only a level 6 could wear underwear.
She's a level 6,
So
but
those
can
are-
we all agree that she's a 10?
Those
She's level 10.
your arguments are very interesting and very valid. I
graphic.
have some questions. where is that really clean, very in fashion lingerie coming from? Because it's like that's very in right now, and I don't understand where that underwear came from.
She has level 6 laundry privileges,
I
yeah.
see.
Old Town Secret.
But also the scene, I want to break down the scene for a minute, because they start off like real frenzied and hot, right? And then all of a sudden he's like, are you sure we should do this? And it becomes romantic. And then she's crying because she's so happy. Which I was like, what? She's ruining the mood. She ruined the mood.
Yeah, I was just like, David, red flag, bro, get out of there.
She's a level 6 clinger. Crazy.
But that was also the moment where I was like, wait a second, is she actually level 6 though? Because it didn't seem like she was faking
Which part?
faking the happiness. I know. I found the rabbit hole I was slowly going into, but
Yeah.
so did Davin. But you know, it didn't seem like that was ingenuine, and that's why I was thinking, okay, maybe she's not level 6, and maybe what he did actually is changing her.
Okay.
And that's where I was kind of like on the fence. So like your theory makes sense, but also the theory of what he did, changing her blood into the plasma, also makes sense. Because if you do remember, she bled red before everything turned green.
She didn't bleed.
Her eyes were bleeding.
I think
It
that
was
was
green.
no, it was green. It was just light.
Listen,
I think it was
color-
light.
I'm
guy.
colorblind.
It was
Yeah.
green.
Honestly.
It was
Okay.
very green.
Was it really?
Yeah. I was like, I feel like this is going down a colorblind hole.
There was a moment where I thought it was red
It
just
was
from the
definitely
lighting, but as soon as they cut into a different shot, you could see that it was all green.
My TV was green the entire time. But I worry that because they did just eat the peaches, and like, we don't know, maybe peaches. I don't know. There was a theory.
Well, here's the theory that connects with that.
Sure.
If you really wanted to expand on it, the only way that works is that these aren't peaches and they're actually fruits from the tree.
Which is possible.
But I'm pretty sure they're peaches.
Sure.
They're from the printer, right? That was the implication.
I don't know.
No, they were on a shelf.
on a shelf.
In the
Because they haven't been sterilized yet.
All we have is fruits and...
Yeah. Because they had to be
Oh, they
sterilized.
hadn't
They were in
been
the
sterilized yet.
The sterilization room.
Oh, we
where they
actually
had to make
have. So we actually have a few hints here. So you could look at it and say, okay, she is level 6, and all her blood was already green, and that happened, right? Or you could also say, and bear with me, guys, because this gets a little crazy.
All right, go for it.
If you connect this to what Alvis is going through, he says people would take the sap from the tree and it would turn them into these things.
Yeah.
So you could think that there is a fruit on that tree that turns them into these things. And there's a reason they take the sap and they don't take the fruit. Because the fruit may overload your body. Now, bear with me a second later. The tree is what we're being led to believe from Romwell's description of his abduction and them taking over the planet.
Yeah.
Is part of that race that's full of this sap that kind of runs their ships like alien species of just being like a tree species, right? So to think about it another way, he escaped from his home planet. Obviously, he would be taking whatever he could, which could include fruits from that invading alien species, sitting in the sanitation room in a bag.
But the whole thing was the peaches were from her home world,
Maybe it's
not
the same
his.
home world.
It could be. I guess it's possible.
But
That
then she
seems
would
very
wanna
heavy
eat them.
on coincidence.
So you're telling me that Romwell, who collects things that are very, very rare, would just go to her home world to pick up a bag of peaches?
She said it was an extinct fruit. The plant had been extinct.
But also,
so
she
he
said
would
that she'd
collect the
eaten them
fruit.
before, so I guess it can't be that it killed her because she'd
Yeah,
eaten them before.
yeah. Unless he mistook what the peaches were, and I don't think that was what was happening. I think he found like the peaches that she wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're to assume they're
yeah.
regular peaches, then I don't think it did it to her.
All right. Well, theory done.
Whatever. I'll take the chance.
Oh, stop eating.
Can I have a slice, for God's sakes?
I
Come
want
on.
to talk a little bit about our favorite stylish dictator who sent us to Romwell to begin with.
Thank you.
Pre and that phone call where all we get from the phone call is the end where he says, thanks, Mergly. M-R-G-L-Y is that name.
Merkley.
There's no T. M-R-G-L-Y.
Mergley.
Yes.
And
may
Merkley
you-
was his name. Oh.
May you cut off Death's balls. Huzzah!
I love that like goodbye.
Yeah, I am going to end all phone calls with that.
What the hells?
Exactly.
May you cut off Death's balls.
Let's talk a little bit about Dutch and Romwell.
Rom's well, then ends well.
Okay. So we go
Romwell,
because...
New Mexico.
Are you done?
No.
So we go to him because he's got the green magic, which was thought to be a drug, but it might be this plasma.
It's also a term for marijuana.
Sure. He's the biggest douchebag ever.
I don't think so.
Go on.
Okay. So, you got a guy. I mean, he's the douche until you realize his backstory, if that's what you're saying. Because his backstory, you're like, all right, this is a dude who's lived for 434 years, and he's collected all sorts of stuff. Like, you have to be a little bit careful if you're going to be collecting stuff for that long without people trying to kill you.
Right, but his story is that he's always trading and he's manipulating people to get what he wants, right? His trade with them was that they would get plasma for whatever he wanted. And so he pulls the goo out of Mossy, which is not what they came for. They came for the goo in the vial.
Yeah, but don't play the game if you don't know the rules.
You got to tell people the rules if you want them to play
Yeah,
your game.
but this is a
No, but
space dude with
like I said, douchebag.
machine gun jubilees.
Oh,
They
we'll
were
get to
trading
those.
for a very specific thing. It was like monkey's paw style, like, I got you your thing, but it wasn't what we needed.
It was kind of BS, but he's also a criminal in their Killjoys, so like you kind of expect him to want to screw
Yeah,
them
but
over.
you can't expect, like, as a criminal, don't you like make your living on like word of mouth? And
Yeah.
like if word got out, like even if just she got away and like it got out that like this guy who's like supposedly like the best place to go if you need to trade for anything, like brings you in and then scams you.
Hey,
Yeah.
he ripped off Killjoys. Oh man, that's awesome! You ripped off Killjoys. Hell yeah, man!
Yeah, but he rips off everybody else as well. Why would I trade with him?
Because he's got to catch them all.
I see.
Does he? I wonder if one of those discs has like an iPhone with all 151 Pokemon Go Pokemon
Oh,
on
I'm
it.
sure. I am
For sure.
So we also see that
It also has Why Kids Love Cinnamon Crust Crunch on one of them.
I believe that. I believe that he has the answer.
I'm so sorry.
No, because now I'm remembering. Yeah, I believe he has the answer.
And his mojo.
All right, so we have also Dutch's backstory with the Sitara.
I liked this a lot. They
love
really
this.
set it up for a long time coming to figure out what the hell is up with this sitar.
Yeah. So we also get answers to, like, how did Klein get to her? What happened to her husband? Like, we got a lot of beautiful answers in this little sequence. And we got to hear Hannah sing, which is amazing. What'd you guys think of the song? It was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was creepy in the best way. Like the way she like encircled him as
Yeah.
she was singing.
I love it. I also love that the Sitara was had
Poison.
poison on it. That's so great.
Smart. I like it. I didn't see that one coming at all.
Yeah.
I was kind of like thrown off a bit, to be honest. Not because of the singing and not because of the song, but more just because of the whole situation of like, you get her a tutor to learn this instrument, but then the plan is to give this instrument to her husband for the husband to play.
Yeah.
And she sings the song, but how does the husband know the song? And how did Romwell know the song? So like they just it took me really out of it that I was
so
like,
funny.
how did they just kind of like get on the same wavelength to just know this song and know exactly what she's gonna sing when
I
it's a song?
assumed it was a ritual.
Yeah.
Like it's like a marriage ritual amongst the royalty of this moon.
Right,
in the
because
J.
he was like, I've known how to play since I was 12. And
So how did he know the
was a
random
prince.
marriage ritual from another moon all across the? I was a bit thrown off by it. I didn't not like the song.
You're not a romantic, says me.
Like if me, you, and Zach just like randomly burst into song right now with the first song that comes to mind, it's
It would
not
be
going to be the
Peaches.
same
Yes,
song.
it would. It would all be Peaches, and you know it.
No, it wouldn't.
But if he truly mastered the
Sitar.
Sinitar?
Sitara.
Sitara. If he mastered it, he could, I think, just like the idea is he can follow the melody
Yeah.
even if he doesn't know. Because he's just playing to her singing.
Or it was scripted.
Anyway, but I like this idea that Klein raised her to know this song that's going to, with the paralytic on the strings, is going to give him this vision and remind this person that she's supposed to be with of love and like get him so into that so that she could kill him. I love it. I'm a romantic.
Yeah. Black Widow.
Oh, so good.
I did think that there was I was thinking while she was doing it, there was a hypnosis in the song. The paralytic was a great twist because it was much simpler and made more sense.
No, I was with you on this hypnosis. I absolutely believed it.
Yeah.
So why her?
What do you mean?
Why Dutch?
Why was Dutch selected from the harem? What's the
Why-
okay, so Dutch's father gets a tutor, which is Klein.
Mm-hmm.
So Klein obviously has a reason for everything. So
Yes.
why Dutch?
Excellent question. We don't know yet.
Was she just an opportune child to use in this moment, and then he just held on to her to do later killings?
It's possible that he just sensed an aptitude for this kind of thing. The fact that she saw her family fall may have put her in a more emotional place that she could be sort of molded into this killer. Or it could be that there's more to her backstory. We don't know what her family's story is. So there may be a genetic predisposition. There's something going on with the moon and the Scarbacks on Tarkin.
It also...
Arkin.
Grand Moff? Grand Moff Arkin?
Sorry, two sci-fi words got blended in my head.
Okay.
But the Scarbacks
That's a Jelko
and her
move, Dak.
Yeah, that was such a Jelko move.
the Scarbacks and her
I want to believe
Arkin.
that was a good word.
Anyway, so it's
not
also
using it right.
possible. It's also possible that she was taken to this harem, and Klein wasn't sent by her father, but Klein was in fact told, there's a girl here that you can train, and that he has some connection with the harem as opposed to actually being sent as a tutor from her father.
Yeah, or he could have just found her and gone to her father and be like, I'm a tutor. I will teach her the ways, and then he actually is training an assassin.
Yeah. It's more likely that that he found her out as opposed to...
How old do you think Klein is?
432. No, that's Rommel's age. What were you going to say?
I was going to say Pamela in the chat says that Klein, she thinks that Klein was a friend of her father. So maybe it could have been that they were, he's known her family for however many years he's been alive. Maybe he even trained her parents, her father.
If I ever have a kid and then I die prematurely, I would hope that my best friend would train her to be an assassin and kill her future husband with
That's
a
what
wire.
you put in your will. When you name a godparent, that's in there in the contract.
Weapon of choice,
must
guitar
train
string.
Child to be an assassin to avenge my death in case of death.
Isn't that the plot of Kill Bill 3 if it comes out?
Maybe.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Romwell's death and then not death, because he is healed from nanites, not the goo, which was a big twist.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure about what his story actually is anymore, because he's given us two, and they're vague, and they're confusing.
Are there two?
Yeah, so originally it was that he saw his planet destroyed, and that he...
The true story between him, because I don't know if it was confusing for other people.
Okay.
Is that he was born royalty on this planet.
Yes.
And he was the son of the ruler of the planet. Alien race comes down, and they want to take over the planet, so they abduct him because he's towards the head of the totem pole, and torture him into giving information to give up the planet. So they give up the planet, and he escapes or whatever, gets the nearest outpost, and they give him nanites. I think it's a mixture between the two, though.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a great opportunity for a really dark story in there, and I don't think we've seen the last of Romwell by any means, but when he was telling the story, I was imagining that they were pumping him full of the green liquid and torturing him and letting him heal over and over and over again. And I feel like if you're going to take that and say that they drained his system from all the green fluid, perhaps when he went to the hospital, they gave him the nanites, the residual of the green fluid is what caused them to malfunction and make him in his present state now.
Okay.
So he's human, but the nanites were affected by the green fluid, and he turned into something in between.
Okay.
That's my guess. I can't say that's what they want.
That makes a lot more sense. I'm going to take this moment before we get Tamsen calling in to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who is joining us. We have Tamsen calling in. She is the voice of Lucy and the body of Lucy this episode. And we get her to call in because you guys go to iTunes and you rate and review. So if you like us, you can give us 5 stars. And if you don't like us, you can give us 4 stars. And if you bang on your keyboard and write out a comment, we will read it live on the air.
That's all you have to do. You can even just like bang on the keyboard and put characters in.
And
As long as you hit that 5-star button is while you do it.
We'll read it live on the air next week.
No.
Oh, this week.
This week.
Yay!
Lana Vase writes in, I will forever mourn Lucy's gynoid body. I'm going to miss juicy body-on-body, juicy action, but I'm thankful for what we got. So it's revealed. Potter is still alive because Johnny transferred over his deadly ick curse to Avon, but with added toxic. Happy Ziz.
Yay!
Green Ziz.
That is a great review.
Sci-Fi shows
Did we do
green
shout-outs
goo.
last week?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. We're calling in Tamsen now, who will be joining us momentarily, hopefully.
I want to save my compliments.
Hello. Do we have a Tamsen? Okay. All right. Well, while we try to work on that,
So
let's
let's-
talk about the fembots.
Fembots. Machine Gun Jubilees.
I absolutely loved having fembots. I loved having Tamsen on screen. I was giggling and screaming at the TV.
Did you know they were robots as soon as they came on the ship? Or you saw them and you're like, oh, they're robots.
I was fairly
They walked-
sure.
Yeah, they walked like robots, not like people, right?
It was also like the hairstyles looked like robots.
And the outfits.
Yeah.
It was like the fact that they were like the wearing exact same things.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's just his prerogative. He collects things.
He does, including 3 fembots. I like that he had a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead.
I liked his line of that. You know, it's illegal here, but everything's illegal somewhere.
That's a great line.
I mean, it's
Especially
true.
To Killjoys.
Also, he's in an asteroid ship.
Yeah, talk
you
to
guys.
us about that. Nerd.
I just love Johnny like nerding out. It's a ship in an asteroid.
Asteroid ship.
But it also, when we got inside, it had the same interior as the mine shaft that we were in.
It's a Death Star.
Yeah,
It was the same interior.
it was super cool.
Yeah.
And it made perfect sense. Like if you're gonna try to hide in an actual asteroid.
In an asteroid belt. That's really smart.
Yeah.
No one's going to find you there.
I can't remember what the things are called, but like his vest thing was really funny too, where it's just like a half-cut vest thing. I was like, they're trying to make like futuristic metrosexual Han Solo.
Yeah, but if they're going to do futuristic clothing, then why is it that Sabine's lingerie was not futuristic?
It was.
It was not. It's
It was
very
futuristic.
2000.
It had cutouts.
Yeah, it's very 2006, guys.
Look, lingerie is very simple. There's only so much you can do.
Wrong. Spoken like a man.
Yep.
I thought it was really funny during the sex scene though that like it was funny how hard it is to take off pants as a guy. It's like really awkward. You're like,
I didn't notice him take off his shorts, by the way.
Yeah, no, his boxers stayed on. I paid attention. Do we have Tamsen?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have the camera button so we can see you?
I do. Okay, there, I hit it again.
Hello.
Hey!
Hello?
Welcome. I'm so excited.
Oh, no, me too. How are you guys doing?
We are great.
Doing great. I'm just excited after that episode. This was fun.
It was
I know, it was a good episode.
It was, I want to say, one of my favorites for sure.
It's definitely...
You can do
Yeah.
it. You can say what you want to say. What you want. I know what you want to say.
first.
I would unquestionably, without going back and like remembering all the episodes, put it top 5.
Okay, all right, I'll take that. I'll take
Absolutely.
I have to ask a question right off the bat.
Go for
that.
it.
Yeah.
As soon as you saw that you were going to be kissing Aaron Ashmore, did you know that you were going to die?
Well, I figured it was probably going to happen. I mean, just with the John curse, of course.
Exactly. See? Even the ship is not exempt. Well, you're an app in this episode, technically.
It's true.
The app
so they just
died.
killed off the app.
The
They didn't
app.
actually kill off Lucy.
It's
Yeah.
not available in the in the
App
Apple
Store.
Store for download.
Yeah.
I want it.
Android only.
Really, really important question. When
Yes.
Lucy Bot died, what came out of her mouth?
Oh, well, they just pumped me full of gasoline.
Oh, yeah. That makes
No,
sense.
no. It was honey.
Oh, Tari was right. Tari said honey.
Oh.
Oh, not gasoline? What?
It's ironic that you were Johnny's honey. Pumped
It's
full of
true.
honey.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That moment though was so cute. Just like the slow build up. I need it for my input. Or
That's right.
Yeah.
Isn't that what everybody says?
I'm going to. I have
know.
new lines now. I'm gonna
Worked for Lucy. Worked for anybody.
Exactly. So did Stop Talking, Be Naked.
Exactly.
That's a great first line that you had.
It's worked 0 out of 150,000 times I've used it.
Interesting.
It works for
But
me.
you're saying there's a chance.
You would think there's a chance.
It's not true, man.
Lucy, can you run analytics on that and see how many times that line will
Certainly
work?
The,
One
na-
moment, please.
the naked man works 2 out of every 3 times.
I did like the line with Sabine though. That was smooth. Where it's like, I like tradition, you know. The guy makes the first move and that kind of stuff. That was good.
It was cute. Yeah.
No.
Well, I think Devin's a romantic.
guess.
Deep down, he's a romantic.
Yes. Well, because you can't be too much up front if you're in the army. You know, you gotta pull that back a little bit.
All right.
I don't know.
They blocked it off when they put in
Yeah.
chips. They're like, you're not a romantic anymore,
That's
Davin.
right.
But Johnny's a romantic.
Yes.
And that's why he wanted to kiss a robot.
That's right.
It was
I
good for
love
Johnny's
David's
sensory
reaction
input.
while it's happening, though.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was hilarious.
Well, you know it's a fantasy come to life. Like he's thought about it a long time. But
So have
kissing the
we.
walls of the ship, not as effective.
Rubbing up on the walls, you know. This is a little better, you know.
He spent a lot of lonely nights in Lucy, hearing like Dutch and Alvin's on the other side of the wall, or Dutch and
Exactly.
Avin on the other side of the wall.
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the episode, we saw that Lucy is no longer as jealous of Potter. She lets her on.
Yeah, I know. It was interesting. I wonder, I'm wondering if there's something else going on there in terms of maybe she's just sort of biding her time, or I don't know.
She's trying to learn a little bit.
I think maybe
See what he likes.
I think it's a bit of a need input kind of situation. Like, okay, well maybe I'll just maybe she's videotaping to get some tips.
Heyo.
Yeah,
See?
she says, I let
know.
the doctor on board to fulfill your needs.
Exactly.
Well,
I think
she
she's
doesn't.
taped.
She doesn't have an android body right now, so she needs to. She knows that Johnny has needs, so she's letting Potter fill those needs.
Temporarily.
I think the smartest thing that Lucy did was trying to gather her sensory input, because now he has this idea in his head that he needs to build a robot to put her in.
There you go.
Oh,
It was a smart move on Lucy's
I know.
part.
Yeah.
She's thinking 3 steps ahead.
So, Tamsen, when did you find out that they were doing an episode where you'd get to actually be in the flesh? And was this because of the fan response, or was it always kind of the plan from season 1 to eventually get there?
I actually don't know. The Michelle and the writers are they might as well be CIA for the secrets that they can keep. I don't know how they do it, but so they're very good at maybe they just don't trust actors, and they probably shouldn't. But they're really good at just keeping everything really close to the vest and not leaking too much stuff. So it was. I don't actually know which way it went. I mean, it was such a great episode by John Cooksey that it's like, meh, who cares how it came about? It was just really great when it came about. So I was, it was one of those where I'm just not questioning it. I'm just enjoying it.
Did you think when fans first started to ship Juicy and that hut started like spreading across Twitter that it might actually reach a point like this?
Yeah. Because it was such a cute relationship, it sort of was like, I could see it going that way, but it's sci-fi. That's the thing about sci-fi that's so cool. And the more I'm getting to know sci-fi, and I already knew it, but the more I'm sort of really delving into it down that little rabbit hole, wormhole, let's say, the more it's limitless. The things that you can do and the directions that you've got with this sort of limitless imagination of space stuff. So not surprised it went that way. It could have never gone that way, and it still would have been really cool what they did end up with. So it's hard to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with I don't know.
I'm just curious. Are you on set every day whenever Lucy's like talking, or do you do it
No,
like
I'm
separately?
in a sound booth
Okay.
when the episodes pretty much clip together.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's just like watching through the ship, just being like, I want to be there, but I can't.
Yeah, well, because it's all the special effects are pretty much all in order, and so I'm reacting to a giant, like a huge wall-sized screen of the actors talking to me, but talking to, you know, the space around them, which is the ship, and the ship, all its lights are on, and so it's they're sort of speaking out to me, but not at me, which is more what you get when you're on set.
What's some of the direction that Michelle gave you when you guys began filming season 2? Because Lucy does have a bit of a character shift in that she's more jealous now. She's a little bit more outspoken. Was there any kind of verbalization of that, or was it just all in the script?
More emotional.
Yeah, she's I think it's just, and this could just be partly mine, and then, you know, Michelle and I talked about it a little bit, is that she is an AI. So the more she learns and the more input she gets, the more she builds a base of, oh, well, that's what a human reaction is to this, and that's what a human response is to this. And so I think she's building responses and reactions and trying to understand what emotions are and how they all work together. So the more she gets to know, the more complicated she becomes.
I know that you didn't get to go on set last season, but you got to go this season. What was it like when you finally got to be on Lucy and see everybody there?
It was really fun because I sort of ran into everybody separately, and I had met everybody but Luke. And so as I ran into Aaron, he's like, "Oh, have you been on the ship yet?" So I cuddled off and checked out the ship, and then I ran into Hannah, and Hannah was like, "Oh, have you been on the ship yet?" And I said, "Yes, I did." She's like, "Totally cool, right?" And then I met Luke, and he's like, "Have you been on the ship yet?"
They're all just excited to show you your own
They were so
body.
excited to show me Lucy. It was really nice. It was really cute. Yeah.
For the scenes where you were in the flesh, did they put any different vocalization on your voice from the android, or was that just?
I think it's the same vocalization that they put on the ship.
Okay, so they did.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I was listening for it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's definitely slightly different than my voice, but I think it's a less strong one than the ship one is.
Do you have to change your voice a lot for the role, or do you
No.
keep it pretty much the same?
I keep it pretty much the same, but for some reason, when I do the Lucy role, it tends to just drop down a little bit deeper.
Okay.
And it gets more sharper and more clipped, sort of just as I start thinking about the character and I sort of straighten my back up and I tighten up. You know, you sort of tighten up your body to become this crisper kind of personality. It seems to drop in more, be a richer voice than my regular, sometimes squeaky voice. So
This question is from Ivan. Were there any other AI influences that you looked at when you were first coming up with, like, how you were going to approach Lucy?
there's a few, because I sort of poked around and checked out a few. A couple of the big ones for me are Jarvis off of Iron Man. I really like Jarvis, and C-3PO.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How many times, I really need to know this, how
Okay.
many times did you guys practice or have to shoot that kiss with Aaron?
I was waiting for this question.
Yeah,
I almost tweeted, I need to prepare for the Yale naughty questions.
of course. That's what I do.
Pretty tame as Yell goes, though. Well, for now.
For now, that we're
now.
starting.
She still hasn't answered it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's true. It's true. Well, it's funny though, because it was originally just that nice first pack, and then I, sort of chatted with John and John Cooksey, the writer, and Grant Harvey, the director, and Aaron, and said, "What do you guys think if I kind of grab him?" And basically thinking for Lucy, that's not enough. That's not enough input. I need more.
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, grab him." So that's when the second one came in. So I had to practice that 60, 70 times. I mean, I think we got it right.
Did
I agree.
Did you joke with him at all? And like after the kiss, be like, Sean's better.
I have yet to try Sean. I will let you know once I'm on a show with Sean.
That's cruel.
Yeah, where's that coming from?
Steven, you have brothers.
So, I want to know if later in the season we might get more of a loosey-goosey with like maybe some accents where you do like an Australian, or Lucy gets a little bit corrupt and does some crazy stuff
Like
with
a
her voice.
Lucy gets drunk episode.
Yeah, that'd be
She
fun.
gets drunk. They put a little bit of vodka into her fluids. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't talked about that. Again, these writers are very crafty, and they don't tell us stuff which is, like I said, a very good thing.
So you do your voiceovers right in post production then. So
Yes.
how long before an episode airs are you recording your part of it?
Well, I just did episode 10 last week.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's
And it still had a couple at the end. There's still a few bits and pieces I could see where the markers were for where they were finishing up the special effects.
oh wow. So you're very like kind of far out of the production cycle on when they insert Lucy.
Yeah, yeah. And then if there's any lines that need to be picked up, then everybody comes in all at the same time. I see, everybody's on the sheet sort of, on the same days. There's usually a Killjoys day, it looks like, and they bring everybody in who, any lines that got, stepped on by planes overhead or whatever it is, and my lines, so.
Are we going to be super surprised with what happens in the coming episodes? No spoilers, just
Yeah, no, I would be beaten. Yeah, there's some pretty neat stuff coming.
cool.
Yeah.
Jalen in the chat room wants to know, who do you ship Johnny with right now?
Lucy.
All right.
Correct.
Just needed confirmation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two
Just a
very
question.
powerful ships going on, pun intended, that we need to. We don't know who to vote for.
Who's the other ship?
Yeah. Oh, Potter.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's not a thing.
Who's the other
No,
ship?
that's not a thing. It's Juicy for life.
Yeah, but you know,
you.
the
Juicy for life.
the closer Johnny and Lucy get, the more chances a ship to blow up are, because you can't love anything without it dying. So I worry.
Well, Potter's
That
still
curse
alive.
has got to end at some point.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's super good timing though for Johnny to have this predicament, because Potter dropped the L bomb on him.
Yeah.
After like one kiss.
Yeah. I really need to know though, for Lucy, who was better? Was it Johnny or was it Clara and Alice?
Ooh.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on. Who's better in terms of who is she shipping on more?
No, just who was better?
Oh my god.
Who's better?
Johnny or Clara and Alice?
Which had better data?
Sure, which had better data?
It's still Johnny.
Those upload speeds.
It's still
Still
Juicy
Johnny?
for life. I go back to the classics.
I love it.
My first love. First love.
They have a bond that cannot be broken.
They have a bond that cannot be broken, people.
I think my two favorite lines of the night were "Stop talking, be naked,"
Okay.
and "I'm being hacked by the bitches who shot me."
I know.
Those are my two favorite lines. of the night.
Bitches.
Yeah, how dare they?
I know. She got nasty on that. I was like, go girl.
Lucy's getting sassier as we go on in this show.
I think she's just getting more. She's seeing more sass. She's watching Dutch is getting more aggressive with things too, and I think she watches Dutch pretty closely. I think.
Is that as they infuse more of you into the character, or are you just being more sassy, Lucy?
Yeah, I just think she's just constantly feeding off of people around her.
Yeah, if we
In
get
her.
if we get fancy back in her, then she'll get even sassier.
It's true. Maybe they give her some green goo and see what happens.
She's been around pre too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, a level 6
that's
Lucy.
that's who we need to blame is Pre.
All right, let's blame Pre.
Oh, and Tom Ellison says hi to you guys.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tamsen.
Thank you.
I love talking
nice
to you.
Chat with you guys.
Why don't you again tell people where you're on Twitter for those who, for whatever reason, don't know?
I'm on at Red Tamsen, Tamsen.
Awesome, and thank you so much. We will be
Thank
seeing
you.
you the rest of the season, or hearing
Yes.
you. I'm so
And
glad
thanks
we got
for
to see you.
supporting us. You guys are amazing.
Of course.
Of course. Thanks for calling in, Tamsen.
Yeah.
All right.
This
See
is
you
a
guys
blast.
soon.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right, we will shift gears to Johnny and Potter now.
Okay, so
Yael
that
does
L
not
word,
ship it.
that L word, man.
So I love
She dropped
you
a bomb.
for what you're doing. Smooth. I feel like she just solidified her own death, is what she did.
I don't know. She's holding on a lot. She made it past one episode of being with Johnny.
I'm sorry,
so she's
Johnny.
already past the record.
I'm sorry, Johnny. The airlock in Potter's room is opening on its own.
Right.
I
That'd
can't
be
do
great.
anything to stop it.
That would be
Boo-hoo.
amazing.
That is,
I would love
I like the way that they played with the hollow
Yeah.
lens.
That was good.
The hollow lens.
I liked how she's like, "Oh, sorry, gotta go. Oh, slipped my robe," and then it like faded out. I was like,
awesome.
"All
was
right,
good. I was right. I called that prediction from
Yeah.
the promo last week.
for sure."
And the big word of the week was
Holosex?
No, teleplasticity. Big word of the week.
I thought the word was dwant.
No. there's other-
Afferent teleplasticity.
Which means disrupting thought patterns.
Woo!
Sure.
Yeah.
Just like I do on this after show.
Yeah. All right. We need to talk about Dutch and Alvis before we move on. Was there something you wanted to say about Alvis, Stephen? Was it that you
Wait, what was it?
was about his?
Oh my god, my train of thought's completely gone. That referent teleplasticity is kind of missing. I was right. Oh, that's what it was.
That's
Oh,
what it
okay,
was.
sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. I didn't hear that. What was that, Yael?
You were right.
Yeah, I was. What was I right about?
The sap of life, the green elixir that prolongs life. It was the goo. The goo is from the tree, and the reason they cut themselves was to prove that they bleed. Beautiful.
That was poetic.
I love it.
The roots grew.
And the roots grew.
And the roots grew.
I also love that when they have sexy times, and she goes, "I'm sorry that I interrupted your worship," and he says, there are a lot of different ways a man can worship." That's a sexy line.
You know what's right? That's it's kind of slightly representative of the story of Uncharted 3.
Go on.
No, I mean the story of Uncharted 3. There's like an untamed land with like native tribes that most of the natives died off, but because the ones that ate from the tree of life were like becoming insane and like live forever.
Okay.
I
That's
mean,
like
that's sort of straight out of the Bible.
Yeah.
pretty sure it's Uncharted 3, Zach. You need to get your history right.
Yeah, I mean we've talked a lot about like the tree and like at the fact that it's
Yeah.
gonna connect everything. Like all these little branches of the story are going to connect to
Yeah.
to this religion. It's so central
Right.
to the plot. And now we know it's literally behind everything. The big question is, after all the pieces that we got of the story around this tree, who are the invaders?
Yeah, excellent question. And before we head into predictions, I just want to say that as Alvis was talking and explaining stuff from his book, I was not paying attention at all because he was not wearing clothes. So,
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that input, Yael.
yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that at the end of this episode, everyone is banging
Dude, everyone's
at
banging.
the same time?
Yeah. That's
Why not?
quality television.
Potter and
Yeah.
Johnny, DeAvin and Sabine. He banged her a little too hard. And then you got
Okay.
Dutch and Alvis.
It's
Let's
just
get
like
into
everybody's
predictions.
hooking up. So, it's like immediately you're like, oh, someone's gonna die. And then, boom,
Boom. Let's head
boom,
into
sex, boom, dead.
Remind me of like a Superman comic.
predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So from the promo for next week, we see Bellish says, "Whatever you're up to, they deserve better from you," to somebody. Alvis and Dutch are still in bed. We have a shirtless Davin. I had to pause to catch that one. Turin says, "I'm not Klein's biggest fan." And Dutch to Davin says, "We're at war." And he says, "With who?" Yep, that's what I caught from the promo.
With who?
Well, they're at war, I assume, with whoever the invaders are. I'm willing to. The obvious route would be the Black Route.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to have this organic ship technology. It's just the only part of it that we've seen is the green goo. So is it just that that's fallen out of favor? That they're just using inorganic ships and then just the green goo tech has remained?
Maybe it's the lady's ship. The woman the mysterious
Oh.
woman. Maybe her ship
Do you think that they're actually creatures though? Like human?
No,
aliens.
because that was something that, like, when we first heard about level 6, it was surmised that they were also not human. They were hybrids. They were people.
Well, in a
mixed
sense,
with-
they are. They look like
right,
us,
but
but
when Fancy first talked about, I think it was Fancy who first talked about it. They had mentioned he had said something like they're not human and they have this. They're animalistic, and there was some like theory that they were part animal, and that became not exactly true.
yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is like, so the green goo in this tree,
Yeah.
are like it's obviously alien because from another planet, but the creatures that came down, maybe it was just something about the way that San talked about them.
Yeah.
It felt like they were something not like non-human
Non-human.
about them.
So here's what I kind of think. I think this is kind of like a red herring in a way. It's just like listening to people who are abducted tell stories like, oh, they're big shiny instruments and
Right.
like a
Yeah.
big metal table. It's like, how do you discredit somebody's story? Make it sound as out there as possible. So you
Right.
know what? They just tie them up to a table that's dressed up in moss and all sorts of stuff, and they assume it's alien when really it's not.
And it also could have been mossapedes everywhere.
Yeah, and they let him go.
Yeah.
Well, the Mossapedes, now we know how they came about. Like, they have the plasma because at some point, one Mossapede was infused with the plasma, and then it just
Adapted.
kept spawning new ones that were now
Right.
infused that. So I do think that it was an organic ship the way he was talking about, because that is a very like it's sort of a classic sci-fi, not trope because it's not used that prevalently, but I've seen it in a lot of different sci-fi, especially Clark has written a lot about it.
Well, like Quake
the
is
idea-
all about using human to power ships. Like,
Yeah, the idea that there could be
Biomaterial.
tech that you like, it's done with more bioengineering
Right.
to do things like it's less accurate than machinery, but more effective in different ways. So I could totally see a planet growing its technology if it evolves on its own instead of through hard like non-organic materials, through just like changing plants and creatures to run a ship that could theoretically take off. It's very possible, and it's theoretical,
Right.
but it's very possible that that's where they're going, and it could even be a human-looking race. It's
Yeah.
just that was the way their technology evolved.
you could look at it another way too. If we take 1 minute to say this, look at the invasion that Romwell talked about, and how they learned all the ins and outs of whatever before they started invading. Let's go back a second and imagine that in the Quad, Arkin was the first place that they did that, where they abducted somebody and they built this base on Arkin.
Sure.
And the Quad is basically another invasion, and they were just further along into it, where they've already established what they use for defense and whatever, and now they're building these walls, and this race that took over his moon is the same race that is creating death and trying to take over the Quad.
Yeah, those are both very likely plausible scenarios.
It would make sense why you had Skarbeks on Arkin,
Right, like 200 years ago.
and now all the Skarbeks, they were trying to kill them all, and although the Skarbeks are kind of scattered throughout the thing, but they're only like spread because that's where they escaped to, and it's like an underground society. And the roots grew is a warning and not a prayer.
I like that.
Because like if you look at it as like an organic ship, right? They're trying to take over the system. What happened to Arkin was they might have introduced a tree of life to the community, and it was like a voluntary entrance into this alien race. Like your body's taken over, but you don't know it until it's too late because you've already ingested this stuff.
Yeah.
So the Skarbeks fought back against that, lost, and they're scattered throughout the Quad, but they've passed down this whole thing and the roots grew, because they were talking about when trees come and the roots grow, that's when you know that the alien's there. And that's why they created this system of scarring themselves to make sure they weren't tainted.
It could be that the lady, as we put it, is very much like a hive mind
Yeah.
type being, and if she is like maybe part tree
Yeah.
in that sense, like almost like an ent. If she's an ent type like hive mind, she may use the plasma to control the people that are now part of her hive. So that's why the Skarbaks start doing it, is because they could literally have spies amongst them from this tree hive mind, and that's where they're like, we need to know who you are.
If I was to make a prediction, I'd say in all of these walled-in cities, we'll start seeing trees sprouting. Just one tree in each city. And people are learning that it's got miracle effects of healing. They're going to use the tree to do all sorts of stuff. And they won't realize that they're all kind of being inducted into this.
Slowly, as they get sick, they are brought to the tree for healing, and then the tree is slowly taking them over.
I love when you guys start just like
riffing off each other.
yes, so good. So good. Thank you guys so much. Nerds upon nerds. It's beautiful. Thank you to everyone live in the chat. Until next week, Steven, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at I Was Right, and
also at Steven Lemieux.
at Steven Lemieux.
Zach?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, ThatZachWilson. And also be sure to tune in on Wednesdays on our sister network, The Popcorn Talk, for Sci-Fi Weekly. This week, we're going to be talking about Buckaroo Banzai.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Okay.
It's going to be fun.
You can find me everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. And I have a podcast. It's free. It's on iTunes. It's called Intimate Interrogation. Sometimes it is filthy. Sometimes it is not. There'll be a new one tonight. So hopefully, we'll see. We'll see you next week for more Killjoys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
I'm a wizard.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.